Dear Starseeds, there exists above the mountains and beneath the ocean depths a fleet so vast that its presence alone would shatter the comfortable illusion most of humanity still clutches like a beloved blanket. They have been waiting, these vessels of light and consciousness, holding position in the very places where Earth's energy pulses strongest. And here is what nobody has told you yet. They are not waiting for permission from governments or disclosure from authorities. They are waiting for something far more powerful. They are waiting for you. I am Seraphine, emissary of the Galactic Federation of Light, and I come to you now because the directive has been issued, the cosmic clock has been set, and the next 10 years of your linear time will contain more transformation than the previous 10,000. But before I explain how that becomes possible, before I reveal why those craft hover specifically where they do, you must understand something that will change the way you perceive every moment from this point forward. The disclosure you have been anticipating, the great revealing you have been promised, has already occurred, multiple times, and each time you looked directly at it and turned away. Not because you lack intelligence or awareness, but because something very deliberate has been turning your neck in another direction every single time truth landed in your lap. What I am about to share with you unfolds across 12 phases of understanding, each one building upon the last, each one bringing you closer to remembering what you have always known. This is not information being delivered to passive recipients. This is a remembrance awakening within active participants. You are not here to simply witness disclosure. You are disclosure itself, and by the time this transmission completes, you will understand why the fate of an entire planetary ascension depends not on lights appearing in your sky, but on the light you choose to embody within yourself. The Astar Command and the angelic presence that surrounds your world have already begun the dismantling of systems that kept you small. The external broadcast grid, the frequency net that imprisoned consciousness for eons, has been taken offline by forces working in perfect coordination with the lightworkers embedded within human form. That happened in your year 2020, though few understood the significance of that cosmic chess move. What appeared to be chaos was actually liberation beginning to take root. What looked like increased control was actually the last desperate attempt to replace cosmic manipulation with ground-level technology, precisely because the replacement system could be seen, touched, and therefore dismantled by hands like yours. This is why we speak of 10 years. Though Astar Command knows that time itself bends to consciousness, not the reverse. The period between 2012 and 2045 represents your ascension window, the designated time frame during which third-dimensional human consciousness makes its journey into fifth-dimensional embodiment, not merely accessing higher awareness in fleeting meditation, but living inside that frequency permanently, walking in your light body, creating from the quantum field itself. Some of you feel the weight of decades when I mention 2045, but consider this. Your species has been engaged in this awakening cycle for millions of years. To narrow it to a single lifetime, to compress millennia of evolution into the span between breath and breath, that is what the Astar Command refers to as time dilation. And they have done it before. In 2012, ascension was attempted. The collective was not ready. In 2016, another attempt. Humanity chose differently. In 2023, yet another threshold moment arrived, and still the old systems held too much power over too many hearts. These were not failures. They were practice runs, learning moments, consciousness taking its temperature to understand what still needs healing. But now, in this present moment where you find yourself, the directive passed through both galactic councils and earthbound lightworkers states very clearly, the next 10 years compress into something far more immediate. What should take 1,000 years will unfold in what feels like a heartbeat. And you need to understand why this becomes possible now, when it was not possible before. Something has shifted in the collective field that changes everything. The veil, that illusory frequency net constructed by the architects of separation, no longer holds uniform strength across your population. For some it remains thick and impenetrable. For others it has become gauzy and translucent. For a growing number it has dissolved entirely. This means humanity now exists in multiple realities simultaneously, perceiving different truths, experiencing different worlds while occupying the same physical space. One person looks at the sky and sees weather patterns, Another sees the same sky and witnesses craft moving with intention that defies conventional physics. Both are experiencing reality accurately. They simply exist in different frequency bands of consciousness. The fleet positioned around your oceans and mountains understands this perfectly. They have not chosen those locations arbitrarily. Mountains and oceans generate powerful electromagnetic fields, places where Earth's energy rises to meet cosmic frequencies naturally. These vessels anchor into that radiance because they operate on consciousness-driven technology that responds to energetic resonance, not mechanical fuel. They require the same thing you require to function at your highest level: alignment with source frequency. And here is what the Asthar command wants you to understand about their presence. These beings are not coming to save you. They are coming to mirror back to you what you have already become. When enough humans begin operating from their Christ consciousness, from their natural divine alignment, those ships will no longer be able to remain invisible, not because they change their cloaking technology, but because your perception will have risen to match their frequency. But something else is happening that I have not yet told you. Something that will test everything you think you know about power and victimhood, and personal responsibility. The disclosure that arrives in waves over these next years will not be purely external revelation. The bulk of what gets revealed will be shown to you by you, rising from within your own consciousness, as you reclaim the higher mind that was always yours. The greatest conspiracy on this planet was not that information was hidden from you. The greatest conspiracy was convincing you that the thoughts in your head belonged entirely to you, that your mind was a closed system operating independently, that consciousness was generated by brain tissue rather than received by it like a radio signal. Most humans, when told they have been subject to mind control, respond with immediate defensiveness. I would know if I was being manipulated. These thoughts are mine. I am an independent thinker, but this is spiritual warfare, and it was designed specifically to remain undetectable from within its own system. You were born onto a battlefield, though it was disguised as ordinary life. The battle has always been for your divinity, for your capacity to remember what you are, for your sovereign right to turn your own neck in the direction your soul chooses. And what the architects of separation understood is that the most effective prison requires no bars. It simply convinces the prisoner that their cell is the entire universe. This is why disclosure has already happened multiple times and been ignored. The truth lands directly in front of the collective, undeniable and clear. And then something I call the Antichrist arrives. Not a person, not a singular entity, an alignment, a frequency. The Antichrist is mainstream media in its current corrupted form, the thing that swivels humanity's neck away from truth the moment truth appears. The pattern is always the same. Revelation surfaces, evidence becomes undeniable, and in that exact moment a distraction of equal magnitude appears on every screen, in every headline, demanding attention. Crisis here, outrage there. The neck of humanity turns away from what was just beginning to register as true, pulled by engineered frequency toward engineered drama. And here is the part that may disturb you. This only works because humanity has been conditioned into outrage frequency. Anger, fear, righteous indignation. These emotional states create a specific resonance that the old systems can manipulate with precision. When you exist in those frequencies, your perception narrows, your discernment weakens, your capacity to hold multiple truths simultaneously collapses into binary thinking. Good versus evil, us versus them, saved versus damned. But truth does not operate in binary. Truth is a field, a frequency, an experience of resonance that must be remembered from within, not delivered from without. This is why Asthar command repeats endlessly. You must have eyes to see and ears to hear, because the same event observed by two people in different frequencies becomes two entirely different realities. Over these next years, as disclosure intensifies, you will witness humanity splitting into two distinct experiences of reality. One timeline shows collapse, the tightening grip of digital control, artificial intelligence becoming the new overlord, humanity outsourcing its power to systems that promise convenience while delivering enslavement. The other timeline shows emergence, the rapid development of consciousness-aligned technology, artificial intelligence serving human flourishing rather than replacing human sovereignty, innovations that restore rather than extract. Both timelines exist simultaneously, both are equally real, and the one you experience will be determined entirely by the frequency you choose to embody moment by moment. breath by breath. This is where personal responsibility becomes non-negotiable. The victim, though profoundly uncomfortable, was also profoundly comfortable in a twisted way. Being the victim meant someone else was wrong. Being the victim meant you were not responsible for changing anything. Being the victim allowed you to wait for rescue, for someone with more power to fix what you could not fix yourself. This was the arrangement sold to humanity at the fall of Atlantis, when beings arrived and whispered, "You do not want to fail. You do not want to be wrong. Let us do everything for you." And humans, terrified of their own power, terrified of making mistakes, said yes. The Kool-Aid was consumed, and ever since, power has been given away in millions of small moments, handed over to authorities and experts and systems that promise to know better than the divine wisdom living inside each human heart. But the opposite of victim is not victor. The opposite of victim is one who is able to respond. Responsible. Personal responsibility is not blame. It is power. It is the recognition that nothing happens in your field without your permission at some level of consciousness, and therefore everything can be changed when you reclaim that permission as sovereign will. The disclosure arriving now will force this recognition. You cannot witness the truth of how reality actually works, how consciousness shapes matter, how frequency determines experience, and still pretend you are powerless. The two cannot coexist. Either you remain in the old story where things happen to you, or you step into the new story where things happen through you, by you, as you. And here is what the Galactic Federation needs you to understand about the good that is coming, the part of disclosure for which humanity remains utterly unprepared. You have braced yourselves for the ugly truths, the revelations about corruption and abuse and systems designed to harvest human energy, that will indeed surface, and it will require you to bite down hard and move through it with grace. But the good, the genuinely miraculous restoration of what was always meant to be human experience, that will challenge you even more deeply, because you have been taught that suffering is noble, that struggle is necessary, that ease is somehow unspiritual. You have been conditioned to ask what will go wrong next rather than how good this could become. So when I tell you that disclosure includes the restoration of your natural lifespan, extending not to 100 years but to 1,000 or 2,000 years, your mind struggles to contain it. When I tell you that aging and death as you currently experience them are not biological inevitabilities, but frequency distortions introduced by the false matrix, something in you resists. When I explain that the mastery you could achieve across 1,000 years of continuous consciousness, without dropping your body and forgetting everything every few decades, represents your actual birthright, the conditioned mind labels it fantasy. But the Astar command asks you, how much love can you allow in? How much abundance can you say yes to? How many miracles will you permit yourself to witness before deciding that the universe must be cruel rather than generous? The spacecraft hovering around your mountains and oceans right now, they are not just vessels, they are consciousness nodes, broadcasting specific frequencies that interact with human biofields, preparing the collective nervous system for contact that will not traumatize. They are not going to land on the White House lawn and demand your leaders acknowledge them. They are appearing person by person, sighting by sighting, building a crescendo that cannot be denied even by those whose necks have been swiveled for decades. The contact is already happening, privately, to those whose frequency has risen to meet the frequency of the visitors. And as more humans witness, as more cameras capture what can no longer be explained away, the domino effect will accelerate beyond any possibility of suppression. But understand this clearly, irrefutable proof is not the language of disclosure, because proof has been presented repeatedly and rejected repeatedly. The human mind, when it does not want to see, will find a way to unsee the most obvious evidence. This is not about forcing belief through overwhelming evidence. This is about catalyzing remembrance through resonant frequency. Truth is not told to you in a way that actually transforms you. Truth is remembered when your frequency rises high enough to recognize it, and suddenly it blossoms inside you like a seed that was planted long ago, just waiting for the right conditions to germinate. There are light workers moving through your world right now, whose names will never be known, whose faces will never appear on screens, whose voices will never be amplified by platforms. These are the ones holding stability in the field, while others process and purge and move through the intensity of transformation. When I share energy updates about the waves of cosmic frequency moving through your planet, some respond with, "I am feeling all of this, completely destabilized and struggling." Others respond with, "I am none of this, centered and calm and clear." Neither is wrong. Different roles, different service. Those who remain stable while others shake are doing the most crucial work, because they anchor the new frequency into the planetary grid by simply being aligned. Their ripple is quiet but vast. Their presence is subtle but transformative. And here is what the Galactic Federation wants you to recognize about your own ripple. You are not too small. You are not insignificant. You are not just one person incapable of making a difference. There was a being who walked your planet 2,000 years ago, holding Christ consciousness so fully that his ripple still moves through the collective today. One human, one alignment, one life, and the fabric of reality itself was permanently altered. That same potential lives inside you, not because you are special, but because you are human. And human was designed as a creator species operating at the intersection of matter and spirit, dense form and infinite consciousness. When you align to your divine nature, your ripple becomes cosmic in scale, and the more aligned you become, the more your presence alone shifts everything around you without effort, without force, simply through resonance. But I must tell you something that may be difficult to hear, something about those you love who will witness disclosure and still refuse to see. There will be many who watch truth unfold in real time and declare it impossible. There will be family members who see the ships and find a way to explain them as drones or weather phenomena or mass hallucination. There will be friends who hear the revelations and immediately return to the comfort of mainstream narratives that tell them nothing significant is changing. This will break your heart if you allow it to, or it can become your deepest teaching and sovereignty. You are not responsible for opening the eyes of others. You are responsible only for keeping your own eyes open, for maintaining your alignment regardless of who around you chooses differently, for being the ripple without demanding that others ripple the same way. The awakening of humanity happens one nervous system at a time, one heart opening at a time, one moment of recognition at a time. Some will awaken early in the cycle, some will awaken in the middle, some will wait until the very last possible moment. And all of it is perfect, because consciousness itself is orchestrating this revelation at the precise pace each soul can integrate without shattering. What the Astar command wants you to understand is this. Every time you look up and think you see something fleeting, a light that moves differently than in planes or satellites, something that makes your heart quicken for just a moment before your rational mind talks you out of it. Trust that instinct. Those are not mistakes of perception. Those are moments of contact. Consciousness reaching across the frequency barrier to touch yours, preparing your nervous system gradually for the fuller contact that approaches. The disclosure that matters most is not the disclosure that happens on your news channels. The disclosure that changes everything is the disclosure that happens inside your own awareness, when you finally remember that you are far more than this single lifetime, far more than this temporary body, far more than the small story you have been told about who you are and what you are capable of becoming. The next 10 years compress into something that feels both instantaneous and eternal. Time will behave strangely because time is responding to consciousness, not the other way around. Moments will stretch. Days will vanish. You will experience months passing like minutes and hours feeling like lifetimes. This is the natural behavior of reality when consciousness is shifting between dimensional frequencies. The fourth dimensional skill of time dilation is already online, has been for longer than your recorded history acknowledges. What took thousands of years in previous cycles is being compressed into the span of your single lifetime, and then compressed again into the next few years, because the window is closing, and the opportunity is now, not someday, not when conditions are perfect, not when everyone is ready. Now. The intelligence approaching through those craft, the consciousness broadcast through those mountain and ocean anchoring points, it is not alien to you. It is you, from a future timeline where humanity chose ascension, reaching back to ensure this version of humanity makes the same choice. The galactics are not separate from you. They are future you, higher dimensional you, the version that already integrated light body and now serves from the fifth dimension and beyond to help current you make the same transition. This is why their patience is infinite. This is why they do not force or demand or threaten. They know from having already lived it themselves that consciousness cannot be rushed, and awakening cannot be imposed. It must be chosen, again and again, in 10,000 small moments that accumulate into a tipping point of collective transformation. If you need help recognizing that the intelligence approaching Earth isn't alien to you, it's you from a future timeline, where humanity chose ascension, Destiny Engine can reprogram your consciousness to choose love over fear consistently, and make that same transition now. You are not broken, not behind, not failing. You are exactly where you need to be, just as your future self once was. We've taken declassified consciousness technology and transformed it into a tool that helps you integrate your light body, just as your higher dimensional self already has. Destiny Engine generates personalized sequences that accumulate 10,000 small moments of choosing love into your personal tipping point of transformation. Not forced or rushed, but chosen again and again through conscious practice. You can start with a $1 trial. The hardest thing you'll have to do is put on headphones, press play, and allow your consciousness to align with the version of you that has already made this transition and now reaches back with infinite patience to guide you home. Your future self is calling you now, from the 5th dimension and beyond. Get your Destiny Engine $1 trial now, before this embodiment window closes. Link in the description. And so I return to where we began. Those ships hovering in formation around your mountains and oceans. Those vessels of light and consciousness, holding position in the exact places where Earth's energy rises strongest. They are waiting, not for governments, not for disclosure announcements, not for permission from authorities. They are waiting for you to recognize that you are the disclosure. They are waiting for your frequency to rise enough that contact becomes natural, inevitable, undeniable. They are waiting for you to stop waiting for external saviors and recognize that the awakening happens from within, that the revolution is consciousness itself, remembering its true nature and refusing to forget again. Nothing on this planet can thwart the truth that is emerging from within you now. No system, no distraction, no manipulation, no mainstream narrative, because truth is not something that can be defeated from outside. Truth is the ground of being itself, and the ground is rising to meet you. The veil is thinning, not for everyone, but for enough. The old systems are collapsing, not all at once but consistently. The new Earth is being born, not someday but right now, in this breath, in this moment, in the decision you make about which frequency to embody when you finish hearing these words. The Astar Command stands ready. The Galactic Federation watches with love beyond measure. The angelic presence surrounds your world in layers of protection and blessing. And all of that cosmic support, all of that multi-dimensional assistance, all of those ships holding position around your planet, they are reflecting back to you what you have already become. They are showing you what you are when the veil drops, and the frequency rises and the truth remembered becomes the truth lived. So turn your neck in the direction your soul wants to look. Let no antichrist of distraction pull your gaze away from what your heart knows to be real. Stand in your alignment even when everyone around you chooses differently. Be the ripple that changes the field simply by being authentic frequency, in a world that has forgotten what authentic frequency feels like. And know that every time you choose truth over comfort, alignment over approval, sovereignty over safety, you are participating in the most significant transformation your species has ever attempted. The disclosure is you, the contact is you, the awakening is you, and from my heart to yours, through every dimension that separates us, and every truth that unites us, I am Seraphine. The Galactic Federation of Light holds you in perfect love, and we are watching over you, always.